Today I want to talk about something that I'm quite certain that the majority of the men who occupy the space of the manosphere are going to cringe at. But I feel like it's a necessary topic, and it's absolutely necessary to look at this from a different vantage point. One of the biggest talking points in this space is never, ever, ever, ever date a woman with children. And I would say probably more often than not, I would agree with that. But I've never stood on that adamantly, and partially, probably the biggest reason for that is the man who raised me wasn't my father. And had my real father, my real biological father, been the one that was responsible for making me the man that I was to become, man, I thank the heavens that didn't happen, because that dude was a piece of shit. And so when I came into this space, I heard that narrative, and for the most part I agree with it. You know, I don't echo that sentiment, because so many people hammer that nail to the point where it goes through the board. But I want to talk about a couple of things in particular, and most importantly is the importance that stepdads play in children's lives. Now, before I continue with this, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying as I'm telling anybody to run out and find some chick with 5 kids by 4 different dudes and any of that stuff. Not at all. But what I've noticed is this hardline narrative, these hard lines that are all through the manosphere, they're generally blurted out by losers. And I'm not talking about losers in life. I'm talking about men like Rich Cooper, who have had devastating experiences with single mothers. So his whole platform is built off of telling men how toxic and dangerous single mothers are. And I give only credit in the fact that there are women who will use weak men like Rich to subsidize their kids' lives. And I don't blame the women for that, because that's what a woman's imperative is to take care of her children. And so when men get used like that and they get bitter taste in their mouth, and it happens over and over again, it's really easy to blame the woman. It's real comfortable to blame the woman instead of looking in the mirror and realizing you're actually a bitch. Most people don't like doing that, and that is exactly why Cooper, Homo Tomasi, and all of those little clowns have such a major following. Because the men who believe in the science of Rolo, most of these men are fucking losers. And so the narrative of, you know, don't date single moms, that's a real popular one, just like all women are like that and all the other childish rhetoric that goes on. But what I've seen in my own life, my own personal life, from the man that raised me, and the lives of the men who have stepped into to children that they didn't father, and the influence that they've had, 2 men in particular. And I know one of them's watching this video for sure, probably both of them. So Noah and Joe, I give salute to you men, and I want you to know how much I admire and honor what you've done for those boys. Now, these men that I'm speaking of, these men stepped in a situation and took the responsibility on their backs. And had these men not done that, the children that Noah's raising are still young boys. And so he's raising these boys in the most critical time in their lives, where they're forming who they are. And these boys are growing up confident, they're growing up disciplined, they're growing up very respectful. And I absolutely love those little dudes. Now, Joe is a different situation. Joe's son is in the 8th grade, and he's grown up being allowed to be a modern boy. And Joe has stepped into the role of father, even though the boy's father's still involved in his life. He lives most of the time with Joe. And the boy was going down a path where, had he gone and continued to be and present the way that he was, he would be just like most of the men today who talk a bunch of shit and can't back it up. As soon as the storm hits, their tails get tucked and they start running and pleading victim. And he was presenting himself that way. He was doing hoe shit, and luckily he was training in my gym. The other kid that he had this conflict with was also training in my gym, and he had a father like Joe who said, do what needs to be done. And so what needed to be done was Tyler needed to learn a lesson, and the two boys banged it out. Instead of taking the shit back to the school and getting in trouble at school, they did what boys are supposed to do, because Tyler has a father who does what men are supposed to do. He leads, and he understands that allowing that boy to continue down that path, even though that's not his own child, that boy is raised under his roof, and he's a representative of what Joe stands for. And so what he's done is, just within the course of 6 months, putting this boy's feet to the fire, making him get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and come train with the men. Even the other people, the other women who train in the gym have seen him and have commented on what a difference this boy's, everything about him is. He has efficiently entered into this boy's life, applied enough stress and discomfort and forced discipline on him, and now the boy is on the right path. Now he's disciplined, he's hungry, and a chubby kid is now starting to slice it off. And by the time he reaches high school, he's going to be a completely different animal. You know, in this culture, we have given way to our lustful desires. We have taken away the stigma of children being born out of wedlock. And because of these things, because of the degradation of our culture, because of the absolute destruction of our morality, there are so many children that are born to mothers who should never have children. But there are also children that are born in situations where the mother's responsible and she has a kid. And just like when women tell other women what not to do, and a whole category of men to cut off because of their own loser shit, their own failures, looking at the way our culture is and saying absolutely no, never, not a chance. What I think is a lot of men who are real men are losing an opportunity to make a real difference in a child's life. And it doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl. We see very clearly the evidence of what happens when children grow up without discipline, without the father's heavy hand. When we don't have that, when we don't have strong male figures, we get boys like the modern millennial class. We get this participation trophy generation. Participation trophies, you're fine as you are, you don't need to change anything. All of this shit comes from feminism. All of these negative influences come from demeaning men so strong women can stand up and show their might. Stepfathers, strong men to show young children the way is needed now more than ever. And again, I'm not saying run out and find you a single mother and wife her up. But what I am saying, you would be wise to stop listening to losers tell you what not to do. But what I am 100% certain of is if you listen to losers and dummies and you follow their lead, the only thing that you can do is be lost and dumb just like them. Men are needed in this culture. And there are good women who have children from situations that just simply didn't work out. And they're not looking for men to raise their kids and do what they are not willing to do for themselves. But they are looking for a strong male role model for their children to see, to build something with. Sometimes you might be able to have your own child. Sometimes maybe that's not what you're supposed to do. The message here is this to the men who are listening to this, and any women who are listening to this who have children who find themselves dealing with this. Women, make sure that the men that you're engaging with know that you're not asking them to step in and do the unthinkable. You should be able to do for your child. You should not need for any man to do for your child if you're calling yourself an independent, strong woman. But just like strong men need someone to hold their six, a strong woman has got to have a strong man in her life to help give guidance and structure to those children. And to the men, maybe you're not dating a single mother. Maybe you're just a coach. Maybe you're just a neighbor. Maybe you're just a dude looking across the pool and seeing little boys or little girls acting a fool. As a man, as part of the tribe, it is not completely out of the realm of responsibility to step in even for just a moment and just give a little bit of influence, because sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes all it takes is for kids to get scared, for the mother to have a tool. Do you want me to go get that scary man again? That's the influence of discipline. That's the influence of a strong male figure. Now, again, let me hammer this home so it sticks. I'm not saying run out and wife them up, but we've got to stop demonizing and stigmatizing something that's happened. I'm the product of a single mother, and a man stepped up and raised me and turned me, gave me the tools to become a man to help men like you. So don't listen to losers and dummies tell you what not to do. Think, have boundaries, have purpose, and be open. You don't have to make it. It's not a contract. It's not a contract. But if you completely cut off a major population, then you're limiting your chances to find what it is that you're looking for. And you're doing the exact same thing that the women who expect the 6666666. You're doing the same thing that all of these men complain about. Men matter. Stepdads matter. If you're in that situation now and you're feeling a struggle, some tension, I'm going to give you a key to know whether you should stay or you should bounce. If you have the ability, if you have the blessing to discipline the children that you're raising, then you're in the fight. But if you're just there to pay the bills and be propped up as a dummy, and you say something, the mom jumps on you, you're getting played. If you're not allowed to be a man, then you're being played. But if a woman respects you and serves those children to you so that you can guide and lead them, she's given to you one of the most precious gifts that a woman can give to a man: her children. Stepdads matter. Don't let these fucking idiots tell you guys anything that's going to keep you from finding what you really want in this life. Out.